title like that, you should have no trouble in guessing what the stage is set to represent. The top of a mountain called Moriah, meaning what Jehovah has made to see.
Perhaps Jehovah has a vision in store for you on this mountain, for the story we are about to tell you is timeless. It involves a father.
Come along, son. Hurry up.
And a son.
Hurry up a little bit, Dad. You aren't carrying it.
And you are the rocks and the trees and the mountains surrounding, who lie in silence and watch as our story unfolds.
As for us, consider us actors or angels or whatever you like. We're only here to tell the story. We hope it touches you.
Something bothering your mom?
What do you mean?
Well, you've just been all strange.
Strange? What do you mean strange? Can't a father be a father without his children questioning everything he does? Isn't a father entitled to a little bit of strangeness once in a while? Without his son badgering him for a reason? Huh?
Sorry, Mom.
Strange, huh?
Strange.
Yes, well, suppose I have. Many things on my mind, son, many things. I forget myself.
That's not all you forgot.
What? Speak up when you speak to your father. What did you say?
I said that's not all you forgot.
What else have I forgotten?
I mean, we've come 3 days from home. We have the knife. We have provisions for a week, firewood, flint, but no sacrifice.
Do you see that rock over there?
And
Go fetch it for me.
And every time I bring it up, you change the subject.
Go, hurry!
You cannot feel me, but I am near. You cannot see me, but I am with you. Speak, Abraham, and I will speak with you.
Jehovah! I've been asking myself for days if you really spoke to me. If I really heard you. Are you here?
I am near you, Abraham.
Then tell me again what it is you want of me. Tell me again what it is you want me to do.
Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love.
I do love him.
Go into the land of Moriah and offer him there as a sacrifice on one of the mountains which I will show you.
God, tell me that it isn't true. Tell me that you don't mean it. God! God!
Here's the rock you wanted, Dad. Did I hear you yelling a minute ago?
What? Yelling?
Yeah, you know, yelling. Ah! Like that.
Sons. One would think that God would furnish them with a little more respect for their parents. One would think that
Dad,
God.
what's going on?
Oh, I was yelling because some birds were trying to eat your lunch.
Oh, thanks. Are you hungry?
No. It's beautiful up here. Forget what it's like to feel the wind on your face.
If it's all the same to you, I prefer the valley. It's easier to breathe down there. And funny little men with long gray beards don't send you after 30-pound rocks so they can speak to the ground in private.
Eat your lunch! Not enough of this wit of yours for one day.
And besides, I had to leave all my goats, many of them about to bear kids. I'm afraid they'll give birth before I'll get home. I mean, a man ought to be there at a time like that. And when are we going home anyway?
When we've offered sacrifice.
Oh, and when will that be?
When we finished building the altar. So put down your sandwich and go and fetch that rock down there.
Oh, Pop!
Come on, go down there, quickly.
It's 100 feet down there.
Hurry!
Honestly, I think you ran around in the sun too long without a turban. Is it because I called Sarah my sister that time, Lord? Is that why you're punishing me like this?
Great. What wonderful. You've really gotten us into trouble this time. You're my sister. Tell them you're my sister. Do whatever he wants and everything will be fine. Ha! Now the Pharaoh wants to marry me. Everything is all mixed up, and you tell me even your God is angry?
Shh, they'll hear you.
I don't care if they do. I'm your wife, Abram, not your sister.
Well, you are my sister.
What?
Well, half-sister anyway.
No!
Madame,
You startled me.
make some noise when you come into a room. My lady, the Pharaoh would like to have a word with you. And your husband.
After you, brother dear. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Is that the reason why?
Here you go, Rock. Sorry to disturb you and all, because I'm sure you were perfectly fine where you were. But I have this dad. He's a little weird, you know, and he has this thing about disturbing nice rocks like yourself. And
All right, Isaac. That's enough.
can I eat my lunch now?
It's there, isn't it?
Dad, something's bothering me. I just don't understand it.
Neither do I. Neither did your mother.
God told you to what?
Told me to sacrifice the boy.
You're crazy.
Sarah, be quiet.
You're crazy. I'm not going to let you do it.
Sarah, be quiet.
I won't let you murder my son.
Sarah, God has commanded me to.
God! God! What God? What God gives his son and then takes him away again? What God do you worship? Moloch, the child eater?
I will not hear that name in my tent.
Then what?
God has commanded me to return my Isaac to him. I will obey.
Abraham, listen to reason. God gave us this child. He gave him to us, old as we are. Why, Abraham? Why?
I don't know. Can't you see that I don't know? The voice came to me as I was walking through the field and inspecting the growth of the flock. I can't give reason to it. I just don't know.
Are you sure it wasn't your imagination? Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm
sure. I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure.
Dad, sit down here. What's going wrong?
What?
What's going on?
What do you mean?
Well, you got all quiet, and then you started yelling, I'm sure, I'm sure. Dad, I'm beginning to worry about you.
You're worried about me?
Well, of course, Father. I love you.
This is enough of this.
But if you're sick,
I'm not sick, Isaac. We've got an altar to build. So start searching around for rocks. You've built an altar before. I don't have to tell you everything, do I?
yes, Father.
Is it because I argued with you about Lot that time, Lord? Is that the reason this punishment?
It is not to punish you that I require Isaac of you, Abraham,
Nor do I hold against you the foolishness of Lot.
Those who sin against me I will punish. Those who disobey me I will kill.
Quickly, go and get your sister. We've got to get out of this city.
Daddy!
And you, pack your things. Did you hear me? We've got to get out.
She's with her boyfriend.
We'll go and get her.
Oh, Lot, relax a little bit. You get so overexcited.
This woman, if you don't pack your things and start moving, we're all going to be burnt to a crisp.
See what I mean? So melodramatic.
I'm about to get angry.
You're what?
I said I'm about to get angry.
That's what I thought you said.
Daddy, I called her.
Is she coming? Well, go and get her.
Wait a minute, darling. Daddy said he's going to get mad. Don't you want to stay and watch? What was that?
Just both of you, start running. Don't look that way.
Look at my
Salt. Yes, God. Punish those who sin. Kill those who disobey, but God, Isaac has not sinned. Why kill him?
Must you know the mind of God in order to place your faith in me? Must I prove myself to you after these many years of blessing you?
Please, Lord. I don't question your love or your power. I only question why.
Why the world, Abraham, my son? Why these vaulted, star-flung heavens? Why is man, Abraham? And why the love of God? You say you trust me.
Yes, Lord, I trust you.
Depend upon me. Place this weight on my shoulders.
Let me
Bear it for you.
But he's my only son.
And I gave him to you. Can't I give him to you once again? You search your mind for understanding. You break your heart upon your human limitations. But I am God and not man. I will keep my promise, Abraham. As many as the stars of the heavens, as many as the sands of the seas, I will make your children. And in your seed, every nation of the world will be blessed.
My seed.
Dad, I've gathered all the rocks I can find. You want to start building an altar now?
Yes, I suppose we should get that done.
I thought you were in a hurry.
All right. Let's get to it.
What do you think?
We're not here to think. We're only here to tell the story.
Yes, but what do you think? Why would God do this to a man? Any man? Why all this pain and bloodshed? Why all this death?
I don't know.
I thought God loved Abraham. Sounds like hatred to me.
We're supposed to be uninvolved storytellers. My job is to describe the action, not to comment on it.
I can't help it. It doesn't seem fair.
I know, but how can we know the mind of God? Perhaps he's doing something we just can't see yet, or perhaps he will reveal it to us in time. But look at Abraham. He questions, yes, yet he continues.
I don't see how he does it.
He trusts God. He believes him.
But how?
Well, that's done.
Couldn't have done better myself, Pop.
Yes, I noticed who did most of the lifting.
I rest my young tender bones. You don't want to stop my growth, do you?
Isaac, I'm sorry, son. I've been so confused, questioning even who I am. Some days I wonder. One day, you think you understand God, the universe, all things. The next, you question even who you are.
What are you saying?
Am I Abraham? Are you Isaac? Is God still God?
Are you sure you're in the mood for worship? I mean, if you're questioning all of that. Well, the knife sharpened, just like you asked. Now, if only we had a sacrifice.
We do.
We do? Where? Who, Dad? You don't mean me, do you? Are you going to sacrifice me?
Oh, Isaac.
It's sharpened for me. Dad, I wonder why. Do you know? Dad, I need you to talk to me.
Isaac, God has commanded me.
God?
He's commanded me to...
You told me he loved me. You told me he gave me to you.
He did.
Then why does he want to kill me?
He doesn't want to kill you. He wants me to. There's a difference, Isaac. There is a difference. I don't understand it. God, how I wish I did, but I know it must be done. He's told me.
But what about me?
We have to trust him to take care of him. Somehow. Isaac, you don't have to do this.
I don't?
No, you could run down the mountain. I could never catch you. I'm an old man.
But I couldn't.
Isaac, this is a knife. It will kill you. You know that.
Dad, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. First you tell me you have to kill me. Then you say I could run. Dad, tell me what I'm to do.
Run, Isaac, run! No. I can't tell you. I'm not looking at something. Do what you have to do. Do it now.
Do you want to tie me?
How can he do it? How can he stand there and let his father tie him?
How can the father tie him?
It's the boy I'm thinking of. Look at him. So passive. So trusting. So willing even to die if his father says he must.
But look at the father. So full of love, so hurt by it all. But willing to sacrifice his son if God says he must?
Why is God doing this?
Well,
Take care of Mother for me. Tell her that I ran away or something. Tell her that I love her. And take care of my goats for me. Especially the one with the speckled belly. You know, the one that's always getting into things.
I will, sir.
Take care of her for me.
Oh, Isaac.
Dad!
Father.
He's going to do it.
I lay before you this, my only son, Isaac.
He's willing to do it.
I don't understand. I don't know why.
He's raising the knife.
But if I must,
He's going to.
Dad, are you awake? Dad, I had this dream. I was on this pile of wood, and it was like an altar, you know? And I was going to be sacrificed. I don't know why, but this man came and stood beside the altar. He told me to be at peace. He put out his hand. It was scarred, Dad, like someone had driven a spike or a spear through it, and hadn't healed properly. But he had the most beautiful eyes. He said to me, "Get up, Isaac." I asked him, "Who are you?" He just smiled and said, "I'm the one to take your place. It's me to be sacrificed." I got up, my bonds were gone, and I was free. Then he lay down on the altar. I'll never forget, though. He raised up on an elbow and said, "You see, you and your dad, you were the dress rehearsal. My father and I, we have to go through with it.
Behold, the Lamb of God, who taketh away the
As a
sins
sheep
of the
led to the
world.
slaughter, he opened not his
Between the
mouth.
throne and the elders, I saw a lamb standing as though it was slain.
I saw a lamb standing as though it
I
was
saw a
slain.
lamb standing as though it was
I
slain.
looked and I heard between the throne and the elders and around the living creatures the voice of many angels, myriads and myriads, thousands upon thousands, praising God and saying, "Worthy is the Lamb who was
Worthy is the
slain."
Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the Lamb. And I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and all that dwell therein, lifting up their voices and saying,
To him who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb be blessing,
and honor
and glory,
and might,
forever
and ever,
and ever.
I will obey.
Stop!
Stop, Lord.
Abraham, thy servant.
Here I am.
Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, for I know now that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
Do you mean it, Lord?
I will make of you a mighty nation, and in your seed all the nations of the world will be blessed.
And Isaac is still mine?
Your son God restores to you, Abraham.
See in the thicket a ram for the sacrifice.
Then why all this? I don't see.
Look, Abraham, across the valley, that little hill. Do you see it?
Yes.
The name of that hill will be Golgotha.
Golgotha, or Calvary.
Calvary.
Look, Abraham, look closely, for God is opening your eyes to the future. Look deeply and see. 3 crosses shall top that tiny little hill, and on one of them shall hang the Savior.
3 crosses?
There, Abraham, there the Son of God will die. For you.
For Isaac.
For the whole world.
I see. There, but between 2 thieves. Do you see it? Oh, his body is sagging. It hurts to watch. His wrists are bleeding. His head is wrapped in thorns. Oh, someone's ramming a spear into his side. God, how can you turn your back on your own son? How can you kill your own son? Isaac!
Are you going to do it, Dad?
No, son. God is sending his own son to take your place.
I'm free?
We're both free, son. We're both free. How do you feel?
Well, I'm a little hungry.
We're going home, boy. We're going home.
There's much that must go untold. For you see, the one who was crucified on that hill long ago still comes to each one of us as we lay upon the altar of our own sin, offering to take our place.
For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Life is a free gift, but we must accept Christ's offer to die in our place in order to have it.
So tell me, If Abraham was so hurt by offering his earthly son Isaac, do you think God will take it lightly if you reject his only son's death in your place?
No, we won't. We could have someone turn the lights up for just a moment. We're just going to stay here for a moment. I'm going to ask you to respond. So I was reading again in the book of John, the story of the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus. And many of you are familiar with it, some of you are not quite so familiar. There's one spot the morning after Jesus has been put into the tomb. And it says that Peter and John found out that Jesus' body was not there. So they took off running. And if you can imagine with me, the emotions that must have been going through their hearts. I don't know how much you've studied. I've spent a lot of years studying the story, the truth of the Word. And I just have to tell you, if you're someone who's still struggling with just is this a myth, is this reality, there's more historicity. There's more proof about the life and the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus than just about any other point in history. And my job this morning is not necessarily to present that. But as Peter and John got to the tomb, and John made it there first, but he stayed outside. And Peter went in and he looked, and there was no body in the tomb. And then John went in and looked, and it struck me that there was just this one line in there. It says, and then John believed. I don't know about you, but there are seasons of my life where I've said, I'm a Christian. I've walked with Jesus. I've learned his teachings. But then there have been times, moments of encounter, or moments when God showed himself strong. And my response was, okay, Lord, now I believe. All through history, God has been saying, I love you. I love you. By the very nature, and I think some people hold God in contempt or hold him responsible because by very nature, God cannot tolerate your sin and my sin. And we want God to change. We want him to allow people to be twisted or sin-filled. But God had a different plan. He said, no, the payment of sin is your own death. But instead, I'm going to send my son. To some of you, that's still a myth. That's still a story, a fairy tale. But I'm telling you that as you look more deeply into the gospel, to the story of Jesus, to the biblical history of the Israelites, you're going to find that there's so much about the story that is just, I've taught about different pieces. Just the fact that the 11 disciples, not one of them ever turned and said, okay, this is a hoax. We were just trying to perpetuate a religion. Everyone went to their death saying, he is who he says he is. He's the King. Would you bow your heads with me? And I want you to, Easter Sunday morning is what a great time for us to just assess our own lives. And it's a great time to be with family and celebrate in a lot of different ways. But my challenge to you this morning is, first of all, just to ask yourself a couple questions. First, if you are a Christian, you're a believer, just ask, do I believe? I think that when you go from experiencing some of the principles of Jesus to seeing the death, the burial, the resurrection, you go from saying this is something that makes sense to I believe. And then there's some in this place that I want to ask you to consider. If you have not ever said, Jesus, forgive me of my sins, be Lord. And it may seem like a cliche-ish kind of thing. And as a pastor, I have to tell you, I understand some people feeling like this is just, this routine we go through, there's no meaning to it. But I'm telling you, all I can say is the Bible says, if you will say, Jesus, please forgive me. It seems so simple. If you will say, Jesus, would you take the center place of my life? Teach me how to live this life the way you want me to. The Bible says that your name it moves from one book, a book of death, to a book of life. And I want to ask you to consider those two areas. And with every head bowed, every eye closed, I want to pray with those two groups of people. If there's anyone in here who would just say, I'm a Christian, but I need to be someone who comes face to face with Jesus. I want to believe. Would you just raise your hand with me? Okay. All right. And if you're in this place and you say, I've heard the story, but this morning I want to ask for Jesus' forgiveness, and I want to ask that He be the center of my life. Would you raise your hand? Okay, I see your hand. I see yours. Okay, all right. Would you all just pray this prayer with me, whether or not you raise your hand, just to support the others? If you want to ask Jesus to forgive you and be Lord, just say a prayer something like this. Why don't you repeat after me? Dear Jesus, please forgive me. Come and take the center place in my life. Teach me how to love people and honor you with my life. Thank you that my name is going from the book of death to the book of life. Let's give the Lord a praise. Would you give Him a hand? All right. Would you stand with me and give our drama team a big hand this morning? He is risen. Now I want to do a couple things. There's one thing I forgot to do, and if you could just